This is Missile Command for the Atari 5200. Missile Command is one of the greatest arcade games ever made, and is in my top 10 video games of all time. The majority of my top 10 games are all old school 80s arcade games. Missile Command is right in the middle of the pack. Number one being Ms. Pac-Man. That's how much I like Missile Command. It's a challenging, fun, exciting game, and it's just cool. It's cool shooting nuclear missiles out of the sky because some unknown force is trying to shower your precious cities with ICBMs loaded with radioactive material. That ain't cool. You've got to take command of your missiles and stop those bitches from irradiating your citizens. They're counting on you. If you weren't in arcades in the 80s, you may never have seen the Missile Command arcade machine, which had a trackball. It was a thing of beauty because it allowed you super precise control over your targeting system to launch your missiles. The whole thing with Missile Command is that you have to shoot your missiles in front of the enemy missiles and airplanes. As the game progresses, the missiles pick up speed and you have to continually readjust where you're shooting your missiles. You earn points by shooting down enemies, and you're also credited points for missiles that you don't use and for remaining cities on the ground. The Atari 2600 has an excellent version of Missile Command. The 5200 version is even better. Were it not for one small problem, the controller. The Atari 5200 controller is an analog controller, and I see where they're going, or where they were going with the whole controller design. You can move the cursor slower, or you can move it really fast. So it's like they combined the Atari 2600 joystick with the Atari 2600 paddle controllers. Except that it doesn't work very well. And they're notorious for breaking. My 5200 controller, while it works, and I could play this game, it's very jerky, and you can see the cursor jerking all over the screen. It was damn near impossible to get precise shots. And the 5200 has a trackball controller, which I might have to hunt down just for this game. Because playing this with the wretched 5200 controller is like trying to play Missile Command in an earthquake. The thing is, the Missile Command game cartridge for the Atari 5200 is terrific. There is more potential in this game if you have a better controller than a beat-up old standard Atari 5200 controller, which is why I'm going to find the Atari 5200 trackball, try this game again. I'm hoping the trackball is as good as the ColecoVision trackball. Guess we'll have to wait and see for that review later. And at times my fire button would actually get locked up, which happened at the very end, but at the end I was pretty much doomed anyway, so it didn't matter. My citizens were screwed. People bash the 5200 without mercy. It's an enormous game console. The controllers do not withstand the test of time very well, and I don't think they were terribly well designed to begin with. But there's games on the 5200 like Missile Command and Pac-Man, which are excellent games and done very well on the 5200. You can't even get these games on the Atari 7800. You can play Pac-Man and Missile Command on the Atari 7800, but you'll be playing the 2600 cartridges. They were not released specifically for the 7800. And if you look closely at many, not all, but many of the 5200 games, you'll see more detail and quality, especially in the audio, than you'll find in some Atari 7800 titles. Damn, those things are hard to bring down, especially when you can't line up a precise shot, so I'm shotgunning my missile defense shield around my last remaining cities. It's easier to defend one or two cities from missile attacks, however you don't get as many bonus points at the end of each round. Missile Command is a very complex game. If you're a younger gamer and you've never played this, you need to find a Missile Command version somewhere and play it preferably with a trackball. I know those arcade machines are hard to find these days, though. And the Atari 5200 and trackball aren't exactly cheap and easy to come by either. Your citizens, who are probably terrified beyond belief at this point, could you imagine looking up from one of those cities and seeing what's going on above you? And they would be even more terrified if they knew that I was actually protecting them with an old beat-up Atari 5200 controller that had no precise controls. The fact is, they're not long for this world anyway. All of your citizens get vaporized at the end of Missile Command, no matter how well you do. I don't think there's an ending to this game, and even if there was, what kind of a happy ending could it be? Like they all come out of their bomb shelters and die from radiation poisoning anyway. I mean, you've just exploded several hundred or thousand nuclear weapons right above their heads. That's really not good for the environment. Oh well, countless lives lost for nothing more than your enjoyment playing Missile Command. On the Atari 5200.